Hello everybody, my name's Wolf. If this is your first time here, this is where I explain the crazy, over-the-top world of Warhammer 40,000 that nerds like me love so much. In this particular series, we're looking at the combat patrol boxes and what to do with them. So, settle in, grab a drink, and prepare for a Noob-Splaining session. So here we go folks, and I'm jumping straight in with this week's shout-out, who is another fellow lore tuber and a massive Dark Angels fan, so he clearly has taste. It is none other than the great Sandman of Terror, who has a voice like liquid vinyl poured over silver chrome, and just like Voldemort, I am very jealous of his voice. Anyway, hey Sandman, how you doing? So check out the collab we did a few months back. Right, so moving on to our Combat Patrol review of the week. This week we're looking at both mine and Sandman's favourite chapter, the Dark Angels, the original First Legion. Wait a fucking minute! We did these a few weeks back and their box set was crap. You what? A new box set? And it looks good? Well, after the last few weeks you totally redeemed yourself, so tomorrow I might just treat you to a McDonald's Happy Meal. So, yes, it's the Dark Angels. Again, which is always good by me, and Sandman. Now, seeing as this is not only a Combat Patrol review of the latest Dark Angels box, it's also going to be a comparison to the old one, and I think I already spoiled what I think of the old one. But if you haven't seen the vid, there should be a link in the description. Now, seeing as I've already done a brief recap on the Dark Angels lore, let's have a bit of a look at the chapter in general, and what makes them stand out to the rest of them for being so fucking awesome. Firstly, they recently got their Primarch back, Lionel Johnson, and let's face it, that's because they are really fucking popular. The only reason the Ultramarines, got theirs back, Rabute Gilliman, is because they were made to be the fucking poster boys. As let's face it, if you're trying to sell models to little Timmy, whose mummy is paying for some well-sculptured, but sometimes ridiculously overpriced plastic crack, the last thing Timmy's mummy wants to know about is that those guys in red over there are space vampires and drink blood. Whereas those guys over there in the grey with the yellow shoulder pads are fucking brutal killers that will murder the fuck out of their enemy and then go home and get drunk. And those guys in green over there will capture and torture the hell out of their fallen brothers until they repent. And then just kill them anyway. Kinda like the witch hunters of old. So yeah, the top 3 most popular chapters are not exactly a great introduction to mum and dad's wallet for little Timmy. Did somebody say my name? Timmy, how the fuck did you get out of Major Kill's basement? Wait, no, I don't want to know. Plausible deniability. Just go sit in the corner, be quiet. So, I can understand why Games Workshop went for one of the safe options. They had the choice of 2, that being the Imperial Fists wearing yellow, which is actually a bastard to paint, and more to the point, they are boring bastards. And the other was the Ultramarines, who are honourable, valiant warriors and very loyal. And considering they are currently on their second Tyranid invasion, and they are famed for making plans and then executing them perfectly, the Ultramarines, are doing a shit job of proving they are veterans of the first Tyrannic War. But then, that's how the storylines have to move. I'm using wrestling terms here, but the heel gets 1 or 2 over the babyface before they beat them up in the main event pay-per-view, because everyone wants to see the heel lose. Works great in wrestling, but the Ultra-Smurfs fought the first Tyrannic War. Now they're acting like they've never faced a Tyranid before. I guess they're setting up the storyline for the best Primarch ever, obviously Lionel Johnson of the Dark Angels, to swoop in and save the day and kick the Tyranids so fucking hard they actually devolved by 3 generations, which in Tyranid terms is last week. Now the cool thing about the Dark Angels is they are the only chapter that their entire first company, the Veteran Company, are exclusively kitted out in Terminator plate. And also their second company, the Raven Wing, exclusively use fast attack vehicles, which is part of what makes them so fucking cool. Oh, and they've also got a shit ton of Land Raiders, and we all know what I think about Land Raiders. Anyway, I seem to have gone on a tangent there, so back to the point. Dark Angels are awesome, and they have their Primarch back, and they now also have a couple of new box sets, including the Deathwing Assault, which is very tasty looking, and this new Combat Patrol. Which is good, because the last one they had was utter shit, and this one looks way better. They still missed out on the chance to show off a true Dark Angel force, but it's much more appropriate, and it doesn't have that fat Autobot, the new Dreadnought, which is a bonus as far as I'm concerned. Now don't get me wrong, that Dreadnought has some serious fucking firepower, but it's overpowered for a Combat Patrol box and ugly as fuck. Now these box sets are supposed to be buy 2 of them straight off the shelf and start playing, and it should be a pretty fair match that can go either way on tactics or dice roll. but that dreadnought did feel it just tipped the balance. Plus the last set only had 10 models in it. So let's see what you get in this one. So now you're getting 19 models, which is practically double what was in the last set, a good start. Specifically, 1 captain in Gravis armour, 3 Blade Guard veterans, 5 Hellblasters, 10 intercessors, 2 Dark Angels upgrade sprues and a bucket load of transfers. Well, what a fucking improvement on the last box set, so let's break those units down, shall we? So, that captain in Gravis armour is a fucking beast. The Gravis armour actually makes him tougher than a captain in Terminator armour, with a massive toughness of 6 and 6 wounds. What's more, he can use a stratagem for free once per battle round, even if you have already used that same stratagem on another unit. This means in both yours and your opponent's turns, you get to use a free stratagem. On top of that, all attacks allocated to this model are automatically halved in damage, rounding down, so you're going to have to hit it with at least a 2 damage weapon to score a single wound. It has a standard 3+ save and a 4+ invulnerable save, so a 50% chance to stop any damage as well. As always with characters, it's way better in melee with a massive 6 attacks, so embed him into the Blade Guards. As standard, he has a Mastercrafted Bolter and a Mastercrafted Power Weapons. He does have some options for war gears on the data cards, so stick with that loadout unless your opponent brought a vehicle or a particularly tough character, and if so, equip him with a Bolt Storm Gauntlet and Power Fist and Relic Fist, meaning he can attack with both the Power Fist and the Relic Fist same turn, both at a massive strength 8 with a total of 6 attacks, each with -2 to save and 2 damage, which is enough to punch the fucking face off most things. Now, the Blade Guards. These guys ain't fucking about either. With a toughness 4, 3 wounds each, 3+ save and 4+ invulnerable, these guys ain't going down for a nap anytime soon. And with 4 attacks each at strength 5, -2 to save and 2 damage, they can cleave through most heavy infantry and most characters without breaking a sweat. With the captain embedded, don't fuck around and move them into melee combat as soon as you can, as when they charge they will hit like a runaway freight train. Also, at the start of each melee phase, both yours and your opponents, they get to choose to either reroll hits of 1 or reroll invulnerable saves of 1, which means when you fight, you reroll failed hits, and when it's the enemy's turn, you reroll failed saves. God damn, these guys are tough. Moving on, the Hellblasters. Jesus, it just gets better. Now, these plasma guns they have are frightening, but with only a 24-inch range, so you might have to spend a turn or 2 getting them into range. But once they do, man, will they bring some fucking firepower. With 2 attacks each, strength 7 and -2 to save but just 1 damage. However, you can overcharge the gun to a strength 8, -3 to save and 2 damage each. What's more, every time a model is destroyed, roll a d6. On a 3+, it remains in play until the attacking unit finishes its attacks. It can then shoot and is then removed from play, and automatically passes a hazardous test if it overcharged the gun. So yeah, overcharge the gun. What's more, this rule kicks in if it dies due to a failed hazardous test, meaning it has the potential to shoot twice in a phase. That's just fucking broken. Finally, the Primaris Intercessors are the basic line infantry of Space Marines these days, replacing the older Astartes tactical squads. While they don't have as many weapons options as tactical squads, they are still a robust ranged unit and can go toe to toe with most infantry in melee, so a really good all-round squad. You get the option for every 5 models in the squad to give one an underslung grenade launcher, making their gun basically the pulse rifle from Aliens. Do this, as the 2 grenade launchers will be a great help, as the crack grenades are good against vehicles and characters, and the frag grenades good against mass light infantry. The Sergeant also gets several options to change his weapon loadout, but really if the enemy has light infantry, give him a chainsaw, and if they have a vehicle or a particularly tough character, give them the Thunderhammer, as it's basically Mjolnir and will fuck most shit up with 3 attacks at a huge strength 8, -2 to save and 2 damage per attack. They can also capture at a strategic point and move on, and it's still classed as yours until the enemy capture it. So grab points and move on while mowing down as many poor bastards as you can with that withering bolter fire. So, tactics. Put the Hellblasters as far forward and in the middle of your deployment zone, so they get plenty of options of what they are going to fucking annihilate with those plasma guns once they're in range. Keep them out of melee as they should be shooting every turn. Set the Blade Guard and Captain up so they can make a beeline to the enemy's leadership or any vehicles and let them off the leash from turn 1. and have the intercessors bounce around capturing points and mowing down enemy infantry with their bolters and grenade launchers, but don't be afraid to get them stuck into melee if the opportunity arises. Now this can be a tactical victory army through the intercessors capturing points and moving on, racking up those victory points each turn, but the Hellblasters, Blade Guard and their Captain Embedded all hit like Mike Tyson or steroids in ranged or melee respectively. And those two units alone have the capability to board wipe most Combat Patrol box sets. Space Marines are very tough and can deal as much as they take. The problem is when you lose a few, your firepower is reduced significantly, so keep that in mind and try to use cover when advancing, but mostly you should be balls to the wall aggressive and can take a few losses. This box set is such an improvement on the last one, and although it just contains units from again the standard Space Marine Codex, it does feel like a Dark Angel box set to me. Although a Deathwing or Ravenwing box set would be nice, I feel either would be well overpowered for a Combat Patrol scenario. Very few Combat Patrols are set up to deal with pure vehicles or pure Terminators. So what else to add? Well, pretty much the same as my last suggestion, so I won't repeat myself, just go watch the video again. But with the exception of course by saying you want a Land Raider, because, and say it with me folks, Land Raiders are fucking cool. Now, if you excuse me, I'm off to Games Workshop to buy this Combat Patrol. I'll see you next week folks. And there we have it folks, that brings us to the end of another video. If you've made it this far, thank you very much. If you would like a shout out in one of my videos, then just email me on the email address in the description. Also, please check out my links for Baron of Dice and Element Games, and if you really want, you can buy me a coffee. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who could do with some noob-splaining in their life.